welcome to this very special edition of Wide Angle. We have with us the former Afghan President Hamid Karzai joining us to talk about what the peace process for Afghanistan will look like in 2019. President Karzai, thanks very much for speaking to us. This conversation comes close on the heels of some interesting comments from Washington about half of the American troops there being pulled out from Afghanistan, and yet at the Raisina dialogue you said that you don't believe America will ever leave Afghanistan. This goes, in a sense, contrary to everything that President Trump has been saying.
Yes. Troops reduction or withdrawal is one thing. The American presence in Afghanistan in the form of the bases and the bilateral security agreement is a different thing. What I referred to was their stay in Afghanistan in the form of the bases and the right to them to own bases in Afghanistan. Troops can go and come. That's not an issue.
We have, the United States has pretty much concluded that the military option is exhausted. We're not going to accomplish more than we did in the past when we had 100,000 troops there. So the alternative would be either accept an indefinite stalemate or try to work for peace.
But are you concerned with the kind of statements coming from President Trump?
No, we're not concerned. As a matter of fact, I'm one of those people who did not agree with the U.S. Military presence in Afghanistan and military activities in Afghanistan. The withdrawal of 7,000 troops from Afghanistan will not impact the situation at all. And we, as a matter of fact, don't want the U.S. military being active in Afghanistan militarily in operations, because that hurts the Afghan people. It does not help peace. It reduces from the possibility of it.
How do you see the peace process evolving this year? Because on the one hand, you have the military presence that the Americans want to cut down on, for sure. You have conversations around this region from Russia, from Pakistan, Iran, even China to some degree, talking about a new paradigm, so to speak, in Afghanistan, where the Taliban is brought back into not just the negotiations, but also any kind of political future in Afghanistan. Are you concerned about that, or do you think that's a welcome step?
We welcome the American initiative for peace in Afghanistan. We also very much support the Russian effort for peace in Afghanistan, the Moscow format. We believe that it will be impossible for the United States of America to seek or bring peace to Afghanistan without the involvement of the region, without the involvement of the powers who are all our neighbors, the superpowers of this world other than the US. That's Russia, that's China, that's India, and our regional countries and neighbors, Iran and Pakistan and Uzbekistan and Kazakhstan and Turkey and Saudi Arabia for that matter. Therefore, while we are supporting extra-regional initiatives, that is by the United States, we very much seek a regional initiative and ownership as well towards this peace process, in which Afghanistan and the Afghan people should be the centerpiece of that ownership and leadership, in which the regional countries must be a great assistance by way of guarantees and assurances.
So you're in Delhi at the same time. The US envoy for the Afghan peace process, Zalmay Khalilzad, is here. Zalmay Khalilzad has been quite categorical about trying to bring members of the Taliban into the dialogue process as well. Also at a time when the Indian Army chief made a statement on speaking with the Taliban, in a sense, a shift in position from India, which has said that it has to be Afghan-owned, Afghan-led. India directly will not engage with the Taliban. Your views on that?
Well, it's not in contradiction. The Indian Army chief statement is not in contradiction to the Afghan-owned, Afghan-led peace process. And that's what we must be doing, and that's what we expect India to be helping in Afghanistan, the Afghan people, to gain the ownership and leadership of the various peace processes. His announcement, the Army Chief's announcement to engage with the Taliban is legitimate in that sense. It does not reduce from that. The Taliban are part of Afghanistan, part of the Afghan people. Therefore, India, being a friend of Afghanistan, means a friend of the Afghan people.
Right.
In which the government is the centerpiece, of course, and you have to be in contact with the government of the day, as you were in contact with my government. But at the same time, India was also in contact with the Afghan people through various ways and forums and channels. The Taliban, as I said, are part of Afghanistan, and India has to be in touch. It should be.
So, but that poses a sort of, in a sense, existential question for India as well, because the Taliban and its links with Pakistan are seen as antithetical to India's security interests. So how does that all play out in the interest of the Afghan people?
Well, you should look at the Taliban as the Afghan people and engage with them from that perspective.
Okay. Irrespective of connections with the Pakistan Taliban.
Irrespective of that, as the Afghan people. In other words, you have to be in touch as India with the people of Afghanistan, with all the people of Afghanistan, and through the institutions of the Afghan people. When there is stability, when there is peace, when there is a government that has emerged through the will of the Afghan people, of course, India will be as a focal point in contact with the government of the day, with the parliament of the day, with the institutions of the day. But there will be civil society relationships as well. That is the context that eventually India should go to, and that's the context that we hope all other countries will eventually go to.
But that still doesn't answer the question of how India will engage in this sort of regional framework with a country like Pakistan, with the fact that it has supported groups that have been a direct threat to India.
Pakistan has been doing the same towards Afghanistan. But we do engage with them. It's a necessity. India should be engaged with all the stakeholders. India is engaged with the United States. India is engaged with Russia, which is a very good thing, and with China and with others. India should be helping Afghanistan. And whoever comes across as taking your hand and shaking your hand in helping Afghanistan, do it. If Pakistan opts tomorrow for talks with India or Afghanistan for a settlement for peace, well, that will be a very good thing, and that opportunity should not be wasted.
So we have seen between, I think, October and now, the release of the 5 Taliban members who've gone back to their mission in Doha. We also saw Mullah Baradar, who's been released from Pakistani prison. Mullah Baradar whose release was something you had been also
I have been very much seeking that,
very
yes.
important.
Yes.
So now that all these people are out, what do you anticipate?
Those are good signs. We like that those Taliban leaders are out of Pakistani prisons, and we want them to participate in the peace process, and we hope they will have the opportunity and the place to do that.
Do you think it's possible, realistically, even though these people are out and there are these overtures, do you think it's possible to have a situation where there is some sort of power sharing in Afghanistan, where the Taliban is part of the negotiations, part of the dispensation, but not in a position of dominance? Because, I mean, how will that work in Afghanistan?
Well, once peace is there and the Taliban have returned to the folds of the Afghan people and society, then let the democratic processes determine the place of each one of us there in the country, as individuals, as political movements, as parties.
President Karzai, what does peace in Afghanistan look like to you? Because, I mean, you know,
peace means end to war and fighting completely. Peace means stability. Peace means sovereignty.
And how do you achieve all this?
Well, we have to work through the various layers to get to where we want. That's why the presence of friends like India is important there, to get us peace, to get us sovereignty, to get us stability as well, and of the region, of Russia, of India, of China there, and to help the United States. If they are truly seeking peace, let's help them fully, but with one condition, with one clarity, that we see a difference between peace in Afghanistan and the United States dealing with Pakistan on Afghanistan. These two are different things. We welcome peace, but we would resist a deal on Afghanistan because That's exactly why we have suffered. That's exactly why we are suffering.
And how do you think India should deal with comments like the ones made by President Trump about what India does in Afghanistan, whether it's building libraries, as he said?
India should forget those comments. India has done tremendously well for the Afghan people. India has built us a parliament and roads and power transmission lines and educated thousands of Afghans, given us over $3 billion of assistance. Keep working.
So one final question, I know we're running out of time. I asked you what you thought peace looked like in Afghanistan, and you answered that. I want to now ask you, given that 2019 has started with these overtures towards a negotiated peace process, what are your concerns for this year about the fragility of this process?
Well, I do have concerns about the fragility of the process, but the fragility of the process has to be kept in mind, and any possibility of the process not reaching its end must be prevented by collective action.
By collective action?
Yes.
All right, that's a big, tall demand, and there are countries that don't always see eye to eye on a lot of global issues.
We must manage that.
All right, President Karzai.
All right.
Thank you so much for speaking to
all
us.
the best.
We appreciate
all
it.
the best. Welcome, ma'am. Welcome, ma'am. Welcome, Maya. Most welcome.
To receive instant updates on all videos from The Wire, click the subscribe button and hit the bell icon. Pay to support independent journalism. Click the link in the description and choose the amount you want to pay.